Welcome back to Graduating Without a Plan. Alright guys, so I tried to curl my bangs, can you tell? I also tried to curl this side of my head, can you tell? One of them curled, the other one did not. Anyway, welcome back. How's everybody been? I feel like it's been a long 2 weeks. I feel like a lot has happened in this time, but I would just like to start, as per usual, some public service announcements. Also, what I'm drinking right now is tea. It is not piss. Public service announcement number 1. Why can my dog not go to most public parks? This pisses me off. I won't even, should I even elaborate? But like, why is every public space like not dog friendly? It has a big, where are they supposed to go? You know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna put them in the, okay. 2, piggybacking on that, why are we picking up dog shit in plastic bags? It is compostable matter that we are now picking up with non-compostable matter. The shit will biodegrade in like 2 days. Anyway. 3, Stu Leonard's is the only brand that makes Chicago-style cheesy popcorn correctly. God bless you for that, Stu. Anyway, okay, so I lost 0.5 pounds this week. I'm on a summer cut. Summer cut is here, guys. Believe it or not, if you don't know already, I had a very, I had a fitness phase, okay? Throughout my life, I had multiple fitness phases. And it started mostly in 2014 when Tumblr gave me an eating disorder. If you didn't get one, you weren't on Tumblr, you didn't see Alexis Ren. That's what happened. You did not do the Alexis Ren butt workout on the beach. And it shows, girl. No, but you know what? I'm bringing this up because I want to normalize like manageable expectations for health and weight loss, okay? And this is not saying, oh, you should lose weight for the summer. However, let's be real. I was depressed this winter, okay? I went into like hibernation. I was eating shit that I shouldn't be eating. I was not happy. I did not feel good. And I was like, you know what? I have like 5 to 8 pounds that I would like to get rid of for the summer just so I feel better. Okay? Also, in my skinny phase, like 2 years ago, I went through a breakup and like lost weight, right? Because that's what happens. Like you have to lose weight after the breakup. And I bought all these new jeans and they were so good, right? They were so good. And this winter, after my depressive episode, I still fit them, right? But they were tight. And I was like, no. So anyway, yeah, so next time you see me on this podcast, you're not even going to be able to see me when I turn sideways. I'm going to be so skinny. My dad was off this week. He had jury duty. But he got out of it. I love how we say, oh, they got out of jury duty, as if it's like prison, you know, like as if they're on trial. God forbid we support the fair judicial system. JK, United States of America has a very not, I don't think it's a fair judicial system, whatever. I've never been to jail. I hope I never do. I don't plan on committing any crimes. I almost, the closest thing I ever got to committing a crime, like I've never even been pulled over on the highway. I've never been pulled over. I've gotten tickets for parking in Port Jeff in the wrong spot, whatever. But the closest thing I ever got to arrested was I was in Montauk with some friends, and they'll tell you this story. It's kind of funny. They all wanted to go to Camp Hero. And if you're not from Long Island, Montauk is the end of the island. It's pretty well known. There is a building. They're not sure if it was, there's lore that it was a laboratory in World War II or World War I, that they had some scientific experiments and they were doing like alien research or whatever. Who knows if that's freaking true. But all the kids love to go explore it. However, it's pretty illegal because the place is falling apart and it's just, it's hazardous, right? So my friends, naturally, they wanted to go. I am a rule follower because I'm so afraid, or I was at that point, of getting in trouble that I was like, I can't go. A cop pulled up on us, of course, takes our IDs, makes us sit there and sweat it out for hours. He comes out And he says, okay, everybody, like, get in the back of the car. I start bawling. I was hysterical. My friends were kind of chuckling because they're like, oh yeah, bro. Because he was kidding. The cop was actually kidding with us, and then he felt really bad. Because he says, oh no, I'm just kidding. I'm not actually arresting you. Like, I have to kind of give you guys a little scare because we don't want you to go in there and get hurt. Get it? I thought I was going to jail. But yeah, so my dad was off. We've been competing for time with our dog on the couch, time with Netflix. He doesn't really watch Netflix. I've been watching Shameless, which obviously we can't watch in the same room. So it's been difficult. That show has actually taken over my life, similar to how This Is Us. If you've ever watched a show, This Is Us took over my life. I started feeling as if I was a part of this family. And when I was watching This Is Us, that was a little better because the family was dysfunctional in their own right, but significantly less dysfunctional as those in Shameless. And nowadays, I'm starting to think, oh, what? This is like I don't want to be associated with the people in Shameless. This is not my lifestyle. But it makes me very nostalgic about, I don't know. Do we care? Do we care? Anyway, I made notes for this episode. That's why I keep looking over, because I had a lot to say in this. Like I said, it was a long 2 weeks, but I just, a lot to say and nothing to say, if that makes sense. I don't know. He's just, like, my father, he's been driving me crazy, right? Because you know how, like, when the man comes home from the house, because he's usually working. And so when the cat's away, the mouse will play. And when I say the mice, it's my mother and I, right? Unemployed. My mom doesn't work. I sing on the weekends. So for the rest of the week, I'm just chilling. I'm doing my thing. And I consider myself very unproblematic. I don't bother anybody. 90% of the time, I'm out. I'm at the gym. I'm at Planet Fitness, right? I don't even know. But I'm not home. And so I really enjoy that kind of freedom of when I come home. Most of the time, my father's asleep. He's in bed. And I like spending time with him, but it's nice to have space. But that's not happening anymore, right? So I wake up, I'm just mulling about, doing my thing, and he's asking me shit like, what are you doing today? He's like, what's your plans for the day? But that's how he says it. It's not like, oh, what are your plans for the day? You going to work or anything? Any plans to get a job, per se? Oh, the audacity. The audacity. And then it's stuff like, oh, I boiled water for a thing of ramen, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table. I literally, oh, sorry, I just spilled tea on myself. Where is it pissed? We don't know. I literally took the ramen out, like the boiling water out of the pot, poured it into a bowl. The ramen is not even in my mouth. It's not even through the first stage of digestion. And he's like, what? Is this your pot? Are you leaving this pot? Am I leaving this pot there? I think my rule is I don't clean stuff until after I eat the food. Right? I mean, if I'm making eggs, let's be so for real. Because there's a phase in my life where I didn't eat eggs, and I'm sure everyone has had one. Everyone's had a moment where they woke up, cracked an egg in a skillet, and was like, what the fuck is this? Why am I eating this, right? So, like, eggs are good. Scrambled, on a little sandwich, on a little toast, right? But once you go and clean the pot, something about the pot is disgusting. Like the pan, I'm saying. Egg residue, the smell, the vibes, disgusting. That shit in the bottom of your sink, nasty, right? Am I gonna eat the egg after I just scrubbed that pot with all the nasty egg essence? No. So my rule, and I consider myself a pretty neat and clean person, does what people like to call, what people have alleged, my ADHD get in the way sometimes of me completing tasks, and so do I leave things around often? Yes. but I don't leave dirty stuff. You know, I'm not leaving dish. I think I'm functional and fine, but my dad likes to remind me I'm not. Right? He just likes to remind me I'm not. And it's like, if you've ever been a daughter with that style of father, that style of man, you feel like a little puppy dog. You feel like a dog. Like, you're just like, oh, hey, please, give me attention, master. It's like stupid. Anyway. So, other than that, it doesn't really take much to make me happy. I went to, where'd I go? Oh, I went to Farmingdale. Again, if you're not from Long Island, you're like, what is that? And honestly, even if you're from Long Island, you're like, what is that? You know? I went to Farmingdale. It's a town. Long Island's like weird because, no, I don't like my bang. Oh, I don't know how to style these. So Long Island's really weird because there's like a handful of towns, and then some of the towns are literally just strip malls that you kind of drive through. So, or it's like out east and it's a farm. It's very confusing. There's really no in between. And maybe that's everywhere. But Long Island has a couple of, quote, towns that are walkable. That's the phrase. They're walkable towns. We have Port Jeff, Patchogue, Huntington, and like Farmingdale, right? That's it. I mean, unless you go out, I don't even know. So I went to Farmingdale because it's a walkable town, and I kept seeing on TikTok all these different things that I think I would like to do. One being there was a rainbow cookie place. I love rainbow cookies. I love rainbow everything. So it was rainbow cookie everything. And it was on my TikTok. I posted me doing like a food review because I was so excited. And it was really good. And then the second reason, really the main reason I went, was because I wanted to go to Stu Leonard's, which is a grocery store, which is only apparently in Connecticut and Long Island because it started as a farmer's market in Connecticut that the guy Stu, he's a real guy, made multiple locations. And then eventually, I guess, like moseyed his way on over to New York. And when I tell you, I heard about it because people are like, it's the Disneyland of grocery stores. I didn't know what that meant, but I have kind of like what I would consider a hyperfixation on grocery stores in general, right? For fun, I go to like Uncle Giuseppe's, as we've talked about. I went there on Valentine's Day. I think I've said this like multiple times at this point. You know, for fun. I go to meat farms. I love meat farms. Meat farms, I don't eat meat, but they have produce. They have this amazing produce, and they have a section of the store where you can go and you can get like discount stuff. So they'll have like a bag of bell peppers. And if you know this, if you do grocery shopping well, bell peppers can be up to like $1.25 per pepper. Crazy, right? If you're making stuffed peppers, like, or peppers and sausage and peppers and stuff, that's like $10 just for the peppers, right? Not even including the sausage. So you're making like a $25 tray. Crazy. Not Uncle Giuseppe's, meat farms, you can go and they'll have this discount section. They'll put like 10 bell peppers in a bag for $2. And it's because they're day olds, right? It's because they're going to go bad. You have to go home and cook it kind of within the day or two. But it's like you cannot beat it. Even if you eat 3 of the peppers, you already made your money back and then some. You already got a good deal. So I love that. Stop and Shop. I'm not like a Stop and Shop fanatic per se. However, Stop and Shop also has a discount section where you could go and get like day old breads, which sounds like, ew, is it moldy? No. It's just they have to have, I guess, certain dates. They can't sell it past a certain date, whatever. So, for instance, this week, I went and I got a I've spilled this tea on myself 6 times, sorry. I went and got a package of like 8 bagel thins, right? They're just basically bagels, but thin. And at first I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be into this, but they ended up being very good. For $1.50, or it's like $1.25 for the whole package, right? Great, like you can't beat that. Then in the vegan section, they had a manager special, which also means like it's going to go bad within like a week, or we can't sell it after, you know, in a week. So it has to go because usually this stuff has a pretty long shelf life to begin with. And I got veggie patties for $2.50 a pack. Usually they're $5.99. $5.99. So what a crazy deal, right? So I ate for the entire week, and granted, another for hyperfixation, I ate the exact same meal for like over 10 consecutive days and loved it every single time. And I think part of it was because in the back of my head I was thinking, like, this meal is like not even a full $1, right? Like, each meal is like, what a deal, right? So it was really exciting, you know? I mean, you want to call, I mean, people say I have ADHD. I think that's autistic. That's a hyperfixation if I've ever heard one. Like when I go on vacation, I'm like, what's the local groceries? Anyway, Uncle Giuseppe's gives me a little anxiety, though, to be honest, because it's kind of expensive. Like, it's, you know, well, the Italians on Long Island, oh, they'll do anything to feel Italian. Italian people love being Italian. So they'll spend that premium, you know? Those $7 stuffed artichokes. Those artichokes, too, they're pretty expensive on the road. They're about, they can be like $2.50 an artichoke, not stuffed. But still, $6.90. I mean, come on, girl. Come on, it's red crumbs, but they're so good. And the little rice balls and, you know. But, yeah. But I love going with my dad for that reason. That's something I do love doing with my father. Because he has this weird kind of thing about him where he's pretty frugal. Like, he's not cheap, but he's frugal. Like, he's not going to spend on stupid stuff. But when it comes to, I don't know, Sunday dinner, we'll have 4 people coming, and he'll get, you know, 6 different meats and 7 loaves of bread to make heroes. And like, he did that on the Super Bowl. It was 4 people, and 5, including me, but I don't eat meat, so I wasn't going to eat them. And he got 3 heroes at Uncle Giuseppe's. Why? Who's going to eat, you know? Because he's like, well, what if they don't like this? What if they don't like the roast beef? And I said, so then they don't have it. And he's like, well, I'm getting the Italian hero as well. Okay, well, what if people are really hungry? Then I'll throw in, you know, a second Italian. Everyone always loves the Italian, if nothing else, though. So this man just goes and he just buys it, right? So like Uncle Giuseppe's, I have a ball with him because he'll spend $80 on a block of cheese. A block of cheese, you know? It's just, you know, I can't wait until the day I have block of cheese money. You know, where you can just casually go to a store and say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to buy per pound and not even look at the price. I'm going to go and get some rice balls. Just say fill the container. It doesn't matter the weight. Whatever. That's what I want. That's what I call fuck it money. Right? That's what I call fuck you money. When you can go to Uncle Giuseppe's and just not look at the price. I'm just saying. I told you guys last week I was making, or last 2 weeks, I was making my sister a little basket from Uncle Giuseppe's for her birthday party. And she really liked it. She liked what I got. I ended up getting like little fancy olive oils, and like they have homemade pastas and whatever. Who knows if they're even better than regular, but just the fact that it was Uncle Giuseppe's felt cool and like a reminder of home, I guess. But I'll tell you, this is just a fun side note that it was just interesting. I love things that are just interesting. I love hyper analyzing my psyche. And I love doing it in an open forum in front of people because I just love to hear if like, are we all living the same experience in different bodies? You know, are we all kind of just one, like you ever call your best friend and you tell them something and they're like, same. Wait, the same thing happened to me this week. Really? We're living the same reality in different flesh. I don't know, in my opinion. But I'll tell you, going to my sister's birthday, the week leading up to it, I was really nervous. And I am not an anxious person. Wait. Before I lie, I'm not socially anxious at all. I have anxiety and OCD and irrational phobias about a lot of things, but I am not socially anxious. I will give myself that. So I said, well, I don't think I'm nervous about going, you know, to just be there. I'm not worried about seeing people. A lot of her friends I actually know and like a lot. So I said, like, why am I feeling this way? And after kind of hyper analyzing myself, I realized I was feeling imposter syndrome coming on. And what I mean by this is that, as we know in the lore, my sister's a corporate lawyer and she lives in Manhattan, and she has, you would assume, like, all her friends, if they're living in Manhattan, they probably have good jobs. They probably, you know, are accomplished in their own way. And they don't feel that much older than me because I'm 25 now. They're 28, like 27, 28, 29. They're not super ahead of me. And when I say that, a couple of years can make a really big difference. So if you're, say, a couple of years younger than me and you're saying, oh, where am I going to... Those years do make a big difference. And you can really make a lot of progress in a short amount of time if you really grind for it. But I just realized I was nervous that I just wasn't going to really fit in, or that people were going to look at me and they were just going to smell the lower tax bracket, right? They were going to look at me and say, that is where our taxes are going to, like, her healthcare and social program. Like, do you know what I mean? And I didn't like that. Sometimes I think when people look at me, they can just, like, sense the years of, like, minimum wage labor. Because I experienced that, right? Like, I have a kind of cushy job now that I'm very happy with, but for a very long time, I did not. I worked as a gardener, right? I worked as a waitress. I worked as a bus. I worked in a catering hall. I did my hard physical labor, and actually, I sometimes preferred it to mental labor because it just felt like something that was easy for me, right? Like, I consider myself athletic. I enjoy kind of getting my heart rate elevated, and I had fun. I enjoyed every single job I've ever done for different reasons. I really liked social aspects of, say, like, waitressing and catering, and I always felt like being at a catering waitress, you were basically just getting paid to be at a wedding for free. Usually people have to pay like $200 to be there so I always felt like that was fun. But I a lot of times too, my sister, like, sometimes I think to myself, you ever seen, like, those Christmas movies where, like, the accomplished girl with a normal family and a normal life goes back to her hometown for Christmas, and she brings, like, her new husband and children or whatever, and it's like some bumblefuck family that's like, hey, how are you doing? And, like, they embarrass her, and the whole movie is them just being dysfunctional and her trying to, like, prevent her husband from seeing, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I feel like I am the redneck dysfunctional family that embarrasses her, whatever. The point is, though, it just got me really thinking, because I had to reflect on kind of where I'm at, right? Like, am I so embarrassed about who I am and where I'm at? That's crazy. Am I really that down bad on myself? And sometimes, yeah, sometimes the answer is yeah. Sometimes I feel like it's very easy, especially in the job that I have as a musician, it's very easy to look over the fence and see other people kind of where they're at, on so many different levels, right? For me, I can look at other people and say, oh, they're getting more gigs than me. Or, oh, this person has more followers than me. Or this person just opened a show for so-and-so, and this person just had a viral video. I mean, you could, like, go down the list of ways in which I could compare myself to another person's career and where they're at. And sometimes for people, it takes one viral video to really kind of get a huge, huge leap ahead. And it's so easy to feel envious, I guess, and feel like I'm so behind. Maybe I should just, like, quit this shit. Like, I'm never going to catch up. But then I kind of, like, sit back, and I really had to force myself to look at my life. And I really wanted to give myself some credit for, yeah, do I make as much as a corporate lawyer? No. But do I have a really, like, do I have a really good life that, because my career can afford me time to spend time with friends, spend time with family, do things? Yeah. Would I trade that? Not really. Can I afford to maybe live in an apartment in Manhattan? Probably not. Do I even want to live in an apartment in Manhattan? No. So it's just, like, funny, because I think a lot of times we're also being envious or or wanting to keep up with things that we don't even want. I don't want to be a lawyer in Manhattan. I don't want to live in a city, really. I don't feel the need to have those types of things. Does this make sense? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. So I also found this a lot with myself. I really struggled a lot when I went to college, or lack thereof, because I stayed home for college. I went to a community college, and then I went to a college that was a commutable for me. And that was something that I really struggled with, because I felt like I had missed out on the, quote, college experience. I had never lived outside of my home with my parents, and it was something that I really regretted for a long time. And then my grandmother passed away, who, if you watched the last episode, you know how much she meant to me. And I remember my sister coming home for the funeral, and she had already been away at college for over 6 years. So essentially, and though she maintained a relationship with her, it was different, right? It was mostly over the phone, and it wasn't, I think, nearly the same as maybe what I had with her, because I was just there. I lived 5 houses down from her forever. So it was kind of an aha moment for me when I thought, if I had gone away for college, I would not have been here with her for the last 6 years of my life as an adult, really. So I would have had a very different relationship with her, and I really wouldn't have been able to enjoy it the way I did. And that kind of put into perspective of, one, things happen kind of how they're supposed to, right? There's a silver lining, things work out how they're actually meant to. But 2, there's so many routes for a good life, and so many options that you think are the better options maybe are not the better options. And I think it gets worse as you get older, because people have kids and they look and they say, oh, maybe if I hadn't decided to have kids young, I could have had this career, or I could have been affording to go on vacation more, and I could have whatever. But think about the things that you did right, and that if you had done things differently, or the way you wanted them to work out, or you thought they should work out, what you wouldn't have. Right? You ever think of stuff like that? Like, I don't know. I wrote notes on this. Wait. What was the ones? Like, I wrote examples. Yeah, so like examples. If you're disappointed you didn't go away to college, or go move away, or take that semester abroad, like, think of the people you could have met people in college. Yeah, you could have met people in other countries. Yeah, you could have moved and had different experiences. But think of all the people in your life now who would not have been in your life if you'd gone away to college. Think of all the people you dated and loved, and family members that you saw that you would not have if you had gone away to college. Right? Okay, maybe you wanted more money to go away on vacation more, and you don't, and instead you paid for your kids' dance lessons. Okay, but think about that feeling of when you see your kid up on the stage at a recital. You would not feel that joy and that pride if you'd gone to, like, I don't know, a weekend trip to Puerto Rico. Like, and granted, they're both experiences are good. So I'm not discrediting one or the others, whichever you choose to do or can do. But I just think it's important to look at what you do, what you can do, and where it's good. That there's a silver lining kind of in everything, even when it feels like maybe not what you originally planned. And I think that really goes to show too, like, if you believe in God, I think that God works things out, and God also, he never promised. People who are like atheists, they love to say stuff like, well, if God's real, why am I not rich and famous and happy? Why is my kid sick? Why do bad things happen in the world? And it's because from what I understand, you know, I'm someone who a lot of things have happened to that were not good, and I still maintained kind of my faith because God never promises worldly desires, because all these things are worldly desires, right? Like money, made by man. Made by man. It's really not of the earth. It's a kind of just a concept. It's not even real, really. Fame of men. It's like those worldly things, your big house of men. None of this is really what God necessarily designed. So you can't, whatever. And he gave us free will, and he gave us will to make choices and whatever. But he never promised those worldly things. He never promised that your girlfriend wasn't going to break up with you. He never promised that, you know, your friend wasn't going to start doing drugs. Like he never promised those things, because that's really just comes down to free will. But he promised that he would be with you, and that he's there, and that if you trust in him, that he'll guide you, and that you'll be in heaven with him, right? So, I don't know. Does anyone give a shit? I start to get, you know what happens? I start to get hungry. You see my energy depleted? I started to get hungry, so like my brain stopped working. But I did want to get into something actually along those lines with it, because this was another, I love to get into spiritual, serious shit towards the end of an episode, because right when everyone's starting to lose interest, I get serious. This past 2 weeks, I was really invested in the story of Moses in the Bible. And I'm about to say some things that if you're not like a Christian, they really sound crazy. And I am sensitive to that because, as I've said before, I didn't always really understand all this stuff either. I would listen to people and think like, that's fucking crazy. Like, that's really weird. But the story of Moses, if you don't know it, so basically, Moses was a guy who, just to summarize, Moses was a guy who was spoken to by God. Allegedly. This is what the story is, and you can make your decisions. That he was an orphan. He was an adopted baby. Well, not an orphan, but he was an adopted baby. He was a Hebrew baby that was adopted by the Pharaoh of Egypt's daughter. He was raised in Egypt. And he didn't know that he was a Hebrew, but he had witnessed some, cruelties, because at that time in Egypt, Hebrews were slaves. And he was like, I don't get down with this. I don't like this. Something very innately within me does not like that Hebrews are slaves. And he ended up accidentally killing somebody that he was he killed an Egyptian that was beating a Hebrew slave. So he ended up running away, so he didn't get killed, and he got married in the desert and lived this whole nomadic life in a tribe. And while he was there, he had some dreams that were telling him, like, go back to Egypt, you need to free the Hebrews, basically, and, I'm God, and I'm gonna lead you through this. So he ended up going back to Egypt. He met up with his biological family, and they approached Pharaoh. And Pharaoh what's interesting, Pharaoh never denied that Moses' God was real. He just denied that Moses' God was more powerful than him, because pharaohs at that time, they believed they were gods. So he was like, you're not stronger than me, I'm God too. So God had sent down a series of plagues, that basically destroyed Egypt. Everything from stuff like the Nile River turned to blood and was undrinkable. There was locusts that came and destroyed crops. All their livestock died, yada, yada, yada. So eventually Pharaoh let them go. He said, all right, take the Hebrews. I don't give a shit. You can take them. And so they left, and they went into the desert to go kind of start a new life and find a new life. And then Pharaoh kind of was like, you know what? Actually, I do want revenge. I'm going to chase after you guys. So he chased after them, found them at the edge of the Red Sea. And then the iconic story of that, Moses was able to, put his staff, like stick out, and he parted the Red Sea. The Hebrews fled. They, went through the Red Sea, got to the other side, and escaped, basically. So that's like kind of the fundamental story. And then it goes on, because people don't really know up to there. But it goes on that, the Hebrews lived in the desert and they went through a ton of trials and tribulations, and they were like a traumatized group of people that were not perfect by any means. They were not really great. They ended up getting in some type of fight with another tribe and killing each other. Like, they were not perfect people, but that is also a testament to, just because you're not perfect doesn't mean, God doesn't expect you to be perfect at all. He knows you're going to fuck up, but he's still with you. And that's, I think, the biggest message. But so when you hear this story, right? And even myself, when I was younger, I would hear this story. I live on the Long Island Sound. I look at this body of water that's similar to the Red Sea, and I say, could someone really part this? Does this actually make any fucking sense? And you do kind of in the back of your head, you're like, okay, I can get down with this story, but it's probably a myth, right? It's probably folklore. How much truth is there to this, really? And so I had actually watched a documentary on it that's recently on Netflix. If you want to get more details on the story, you can watch it. And then I also read the Bible version of it. And, when you read the Bible version, you see the deeper messages within all of these things. Like, it's a story, but it also holds a lot of significance and information as to how God works. It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. But just an example is, like, say when the Hebrews got in a battle with that tribe, like I was saying, in the desert after they had fled. And Moses, he was holding his hands up to God during this battle. And as soon as his hands started to fall and he started to look away from the sky and God, the tribe that they were battling started winning. But then right when he put his eyes back up and put his hands back up, the Hebrews were taking charge and winning this battle. So it was kind of like, if your eyes were up and you were looking at God, you were going to win. And as soon as you looked away, you were not. And there was a point in that where his hands started to fall and his brother and one of his friends came and held his arms back up. And again, it was kind of like a deeper meaning of, like, sometimes you need your community to hold you up and keep you accountable and keep you looking at God. And if you don't have those people, it's a lot easier to fall. Like, what I'm saying is, the more you read this stuff, the more it kind of adds up. Like, even if you don't believe a single thing that is said in the Bible, if you can look at the kind of hidden meaning, you can get, quote, good life lessons, right? However, after years of really not understanding this and honestly just not really believing this fully in my heart, historically, I started to make some connections, as in the Hebrews are basically just Jewish people, right? Modern day Jewish people, because they believe in God, they believe in everything that happened in this story. And then they established their homes in, like, Israel, and you know what I mean? Like, they established states and nations. And this account, so, like, say the story of parting the Red Sea, it wasn't just Moses there. It was thousands and thousands of people there. And thousands of people in Egypt. And that, so you're telling me that thousands of people decided, like thousands of Hebrews, decided to start a religion, aka Judaism, to develop a nation surrounding this religion, aka Israel, and continue these traditions and these beliefs and continue telling this story if it wasn't true, if there was no truth to it. And that, to me, made no sense. Like, so you're saying thousands of people lied? You know what I mean? And that was kind of an aha moment that I hadn't had. Because, again, I haven't read the full Bible yet. But, so I'm not going to speak on the whole thing. But this particular story, you just think to yourself, kind of, how could it not be true? And it sounds crazy. But then you get deeper. And you say, well, how could like someone part a sea, right? How could someone send plagues? But you look at kind of the reality we live in and how the world is in such perfect order, right? And maybe I've talked about this before, how our universe is, it's so intentionally perfectly made, with so many moving parts just going all at the same time. And we are in a dimension that we really don't understand. We're all here. We all know we're here. We don't really know why. We don't really know where we are. We know we're on a floating rock in a universe that has scientifically been proven to be expanding, has scientifically been proven to work in perfect order, right? I mean, the plants need rain, so it rains. We need food, so there's plants. Like, I mean, you look at how things work. I mean, our bodies, there's just a heart beating within us for what? I don't know. So you realize, like, this world is very complex to begin with, and then you see how, like, we're in this dimension where we don't even understand how there are things that we can't see that we know are scientifically proven are real, like gravity. We can't see gravity, but it's still there. We can't see particles floating in the air, but they're still there. We don't see how plants are making oxygen, but they're still doing it. And when you think of things like that, well, if there's things we can't see and we don't even know are there, so why wouldn't there be a possibility, at least, of something like a heaven existing, of another dimension where our energy, because they say energy is not created or destroyed, it just changes form, right? So why would our energy not be able to surpass this dimension? Like, all I'm saying is the more questions you ask, the more questions you have. But it also opens up this realm of, it almost makes more sense that there would be something in a resemblance to a heaven. Is it, people with wings flying around? I don't know. But another dimension makes a lot of sense. A creator makes a ton of sense. And if a creator is power, because to me, there's almost no doubt that there's a creator. So if a creator is real and he made this, why wouldn't he be able to part some water? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So these are just things that I got thinking of a lot. And it was something that came to my mind actually because of fear. And this is just kind of a side note, but I had kind of like an existential crisis for several years. And I wake up often to this day with night terrors. That's kind of a side note. I don't really know why I get night terrors, but a lot of the times when I wake up, because it's for different reasons, but a lot of times when I wake up with them, a common theme is that I feel like immediately the first thing I think of is like, oh my God, like, am I dead? Like, or is this what being dead feels like? Am I like, or, I think that's, sleeping is just what being dead feels like. I'm going to die one day and everyone's going to die. And like, I just go through this really heated existential crisis. So for the first time last week, I woke up and I had this moment in my room and I stopped myself because I had literally just been at Bible study that evening. And when I go to Bible study and I talk to my, fellow Christians or whatever, I truly believe what they're saying, right? Like, I have seen in my own life evidence of, like, God working in my life. When people tell me about their testimonies and God working in their life, I believe them. I don't really doubt it at all. It doesn't really surprise me. And I truly believe that when people pass away, they're somewhere else. I don't think they're here or not anywhere. I think they're somewhere. I don't know where, but they're somewhere. Yet, when my fear for my own life comes into play, all of a sudden, all of that goes out the window. and I'm just like, I don't believe in any of it anymore, right? So then you get thinking about fear and how powerful that is. And, you know, you think of people like, on another kind of story, Jesus Christ himself. When he was going on trial, or he was going to be killed, his disciples were literally willing to die. They were willing to be tortured, murdered, their families killed, all this stuff, because they truly were not going to back down on the fact that they believed that Jesus was God and that they saw him rise from the dead after he died, right? And they were not afraid because they truly believed that when they died, they were going to go to heaven. They were going to go to wherever Jesus was, because they had seen him come from there and go back, right? Whereas the Pharisees, which is basically just the people, like the common people of the time, they had also been there. They witnessed this, but they were so afraid of being hurt, like murdered, killed, you know, understandably, that they were literally willing to deny Jesus Christ himself. They were like, we didn't see anything. we don't even know him, right? To protect themselves, because they were so afraid. And I get it. But it kind of is like, well, then the whole fundamental of Christianity is, well, who are you? Are you a person who would look God in the face and be afraid and turn away from him? Or would you look him in the face and trust him, basically? Are you a disciple, or are you a Pharisee? And I think there have been times in my life where I was definitely a Pharisee. I think up until recently I was a Pharisee. But more recently I realized, like, I am a disciple. But am I? Because if someone came to me right now and said, I'm going to shoot you in the head unless you say God is fake, maybe I would say, okay, he's not real. But if I truly deep down believed, like in my soul, I would say, if you kill me now, like, I'm going to heaven, it doesn't matter. So it's just interesting. Like, okay, does this matter? Okay, nobody cares. I have so much to talk about this with. I could go on forever and ever and ever. I wrote all these notes. I didn't look at a single one. I don't know what any of this is. But the point is, you just have to trust Jesus more than you trust fear. And you have to look at the world. And I think when you look at the world without fear, just like, it doesn't really matter either way, I'm just going to look at the facts of life. And the more you dive in, the more you're like, it makes more sense that there is a God. And even historically, it doesn't make sense that all of these people lied and all of these people were wrong and nobody witnessed anything. Like, I don't know. So, whatever. That was kind of my serious rant for the week. I think that was kind of deep. But I gotta go play Dragonvale because... Do you guys know Dragonvale? Oh, God. Okay, when I was like 14, I used to play this app. This kid, Alan, in my class, he said, you gotta get Dragonvale. And I didn't know what it was, and then I got Dragonvale. Then it became obsessed. Basically, it's like you breed dragons. And this is all on your phone, right? You breed dragons, and you collect money from them. And it's just fun. So I have like a really rare dragon breeding at the moment, I think, right? Because it doesn't tell you. It just says, like, it's all real time, right? Like, you breed a dragon, it's like 24 hours until it's ready. That means it's a rare one. That means, you know? So I'm like so excited. But imagine I don't get a rare one and it was just like, I'll be pissed. Like, I want a rainbow dragon. If it's not a rainbow dragon, I will be pissed. But, you know, another quote my dad said this week is, you get what you get and you don't get upset. You just do drugs. Anyway. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your week. Think about what I said if you want. If not, you know, just do your thing. And, yeah, I hope... I'm going to pray that the people who listen to this who don't understand who God is, that he he kind of fills your heart. He turns your heart towards him. Because that's what they say, your heart posture. Like, turn your heart posture towards him. And that the Holy Spirit kind of, like, comes into your soul. And you feel kind of what I'm talking and, like, about. And some of it resonates with you. And if you just listen to this and you said, I don't believe a single thing she just said. She sounds fucking nuts. She sounds like a crazy Bible-banging bitch. If you want God to reveal himself to you, like, if you want to, right? I mean, if you don't want to, don't do it. But if you want to know if God's real, ask him to show you. Ask him to send you a sign, and he will. So I actually don't have to prove to anyone that God is real. He'll do it himself. So have a great rest of your day, guys. I love you, and bye.